Hey everyone, this is Andres at Foxtrot. The team at Foxtrot would like to take this moment to remember and honor the legacy of Maggie McKethan. Maggie was a fellow Data Mondash content creator that recently passed away. It really just taken away from us too soon, and we just wanted to honor this week's content to her and also the people that she was able to influence along the way, myself included. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. And thank you for the family and close friends of Maggie, and and thank you, Maggie.
Welcome to Instant Ramen. And yes, I did. I said Instant Ramen. This is not noodle time today. Because we're doing a little something different like we always do. We're talking to the opponent, but I've got Foxtrot with me tonight to discuss with the opponent. What's going on, bro?
What's up, y'all? No, I'm purpled up now.
Yeah, that perk. We're
Yep,
ready to
yep.
go for road games. For road games, or when it clashes. But let's just get into the episode. We brought on Andrew from the Designated Players podcast. He's an NYRB fan, follower, whatever you want to call him. No, I'm just kidding, bro. Say, what's going on, Andrew? How you doing, brother?
Hey y'all, how are you? Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir, bro. So NYRB. So the very first question, someone actually just kind of asked this for and I don't get it, but maybe you do or whatever. NY. Are you okay with the RB?
So that's it's kind of funny, right? You find people who are like MYRB, and then you see people who will correct people and like it's RBNY, and if you say it's MYRB, like you're wrong. But in terms of like Red Bull as owners,
Yeah.
depends on the day, right? It depends on the day, right? They've done all right with some of our signings this year, and having that connection would have probably facilitated our biggest signing this year. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit, but um, it's been disappointing over the last couple of years. I think having that connection with so little to see from it. Um, right now, I'm still jury out. Right, so they're if they can continue to bring players in at the rate that Emil is, then I'm okay with it. But if they're going to turn a blind eye and make us the rotten stepchild, if you will, of their global empire, that's another problem, right?
Okay, well, interesting. So there's probably some segue that we can get into that, but we'll get into it later. So last season in Y or RBNY, finished in eighth place and played that play-in game and just kicked the crap out of Charlotte 5-2. I don't know if that was expected. The 5 goals, the hat trick to start off the frigging game, I think, and then you obviously had to face Cincinnati, and unfortunately that was a very tough task. And that first game was 3-0. But last season, how to expectations to how the season finished? How did the season ended up for y'all's perspective?
Yeah, man, I'll tell you I would say honestly we overachieved expectations when Lewis Morgan gets hurt, Dante Van Zier gets hurt and suspended, and all the things that he went through, and our reserves were a bunch of teenagers or RB2 guys. It was we were ready pretty much to write the season off there and then, but they turned it on. They were able to sneak their way in. Troy Lesane did a really great job of uniting that group and kind of doing that we against the world type of thing, and just forcing them through grind, grit, and what have you, all the way up into that eighth place spot. But it, as I was kind of alluding to before, underwhelming in terms of where we used to be. Right? I mean, we were perennial top three, top 2, 3 supporter shield in 6 years, and they kind of let us drop off. So it's been disappointing over the last couple of years,
Yeah.
and even coming out of that season, you have the owner group coming in saying we're going to give you significant investment, and we've got 2 players of note right now, and a couple of RB2 guys, and it does feel a little underwhelming in that sense, but it does feel like we've turned a corner a little bit. It feels like the new head coach has a different game plan, different style, and Troy was great, and I wish him well in DC. But I do feel like we've turned a new page a little bit.
And
Nice.
the one thing I can definitely say about the Red Bulls is I feel like they always overperform, but they come up short at like the wrong time, almost always. And I'm telling you that as a Dynamo fan that has been watching the team since they were in the Eastern Conference, or like a little bit before they headed to the Western one, and the Red Bulls assemble like some insane teams. For some reason, they haven't won the MLS Cup. Like you just look it on paper, and it's like they managed what they've done in their history, and that's perfectly fine. But every single time in the playoffs, it's like so disappointing. And just recently, like you can definitely tell like the negatives or of just being part of a bigger football project across the globe, and really just like getting the short end of the stick when it comes to like players, that specific support, and really just the front office, because it's way different, especially with single entity. And yeah, like I just, because I usually like follow just as a casual fan, like what's going on with like each team, especially on Twitter, because it's a pretty good source when it comes to all those types of news. And like every season is something about like the fans or just the ownership, and just like the lack of investment. But like during the season, they just like they usually just come on top, and that's what I appreciate about them.
Yeah, they're never gonna let you down in some way, shape, or form, and it's always gonna be exciting and new and different. So you'll never get a boring season out of them. I mean, even the way we bowed out of the playoffs last year, right? I was actually at that game, and it was one of those, oh man, we actually might do this, we might get to game 3, and then everything falls apart in the last. We give the ball away on a free kick with nobody around us. They go on a breakaway score. We hit the post twice in penalty. Like, just there's always a new chapter of something crazy in what we call That's So Metro, right?
Was that the one that went to 8-9 penalty kicks? I don't remember. Or it did. Oh,
yeah.
So that was.
We had,
Jesus.
Man, we had 2 different opportunities. Cornell made 2 different saves in that game. Tolkien stepped up and hit the post. Cornell makes another save like 2 or 3 down, and Sergin Goma stepped up. He was out for like 6, 7, 8 months. He had played like 3 times, and they sub him on for the penalties, and he put his over the bar. And then Andres Reyes, center back, shooter number 10, misses, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And again, just one of those. You'll look back in 5 years and be like, oh, yeah, that's right. We lost that way this time.
Yeah. Now that I'm remembering, I'm sorry Foxtrot brought it up, because, yeah, that was just, man, bad. All right. Well, yeah, let's just move on. So now the season's ended. You said you overachieved, so it had to be a happy season. Everybody was okay. Okay, cool. We're cool with that. So now we're moving to all season departures. Key departures is my big question. Did you lose anybody that was particular to the team that had a role that y'all would have enjoyed keeping?
Yeah, there are a couple that I think I would have enjoyed to see stick around in different roles from what they played in 2023. So, like I mentioned, there were players who played a little bit more than they probably should have in games. And one of those guys is Omir Fernandez. At our podcast, we talk about it being the year of Omir. Like, we always wanted to see him break out and be that next guy. And it kind of was that year for him. He was our leading goal scorer, leading point getter, filling in for that injured Lewis Morgan. But he gave us flexibility, right? He was perfect for that Red Bull system of kind of, energy drink soccer, if you will, right? We're going to make things really crazy in the attacking third. We're going to try and win the ball high up the pitch. And then once we get it, we're going to be calm, cool, collected, and make the right decision. And he was a really good fit for that. He was one of those guys who had an engine that would just press. And then once he picked it up, he had the ability to create something out of nothing. So would have loved to see him be a part of that. I think he'll be really, really good in Colorado there with reuniting with Chris Armas. The other player who I don't know necessarily would have had a lot of success if he stuck around, but Drew Yearwood was a guy that we had brought in who I thought was a perfect fit for that sort of style for us. Great motor, great engine, loved to create, but was missing that final decision, right? When he got into that attacking third, if he was, one of the things that he was very good at was linking the back line to the forward line. So he'd pick up the ball and either advance it on a dribble or advance it with a pass. And he was very good doing that as soon as he recovered the ball. Once he dribbled and got into the attacking third and became more of like a 10 when he was on the ball, his decision-making let him down constantly. So I felt like with Emil coming in, with Lewis Morgan coming back healthy, having him just to be a plug-and-play guy to say, okay, we're going to rotate our 2 6s. He's going to be one of the guys. Pick it up, find the dude from Sweden, and that's it. I thought he would have been really good at that. But, again, sent on over to Nashville for a little bit of GAM. And, I wish him well there too. I think he's going to be really, really good for them because I think that's kind of what Gary Smith is going to make him do in Nashville, right? Pick up the ball, look for Hani Mukhtar, kick it. That's it. You keep it simple for him. I think he'll be very good. But those are the two that I think we would have missed the most. The others, Luquinhas didn't really play at a designated player level for us. He let us down more often than he didn't. He had spurts where he was good, but he didn't. Couple of backup center backs, Nasida and Hassam Ndam, who I've always been a big fan of Ndam, but just never really got going as a center back 3. And then Tom Barlow's the other one who is Tom Barlow, right? He works hard, will press high, but just 13 goals in 140 games. I mean, as a striker, that's not going to cut. So sorry, not sorry. Best of luck in Chicago, but yeah, that's about it.
That's good. That's good. Hey, Fox, if you want to lead us into, the additions for, the team, because I know once people leave, you're like, okay, all right, fine. Unless you really love that person or that person was really like in with the community of Jersey, I guess we're going to say, because you technically are Jersey. So, but we kind of lost Teenage Adabi this year, and we're fans of him, and he's always welcome back to Houston. Albert Elise, who has family here in Houston, prayers to him. Hope he has a speedy recovery. But it's always interesting. But yeah, that was the departures part. Fox, you want to lead us in?
For the additions, I would see the main one just being Forsberg, and I guess it's a pretty good time to get into Forsberg, or just these expectations for him at the start of the season. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been this excited about a signing since Thierry Henry came in, right? That's the level. That's the level of this guy, right? He is internationally recognized. He is by the time he was released from Leipzig, he was still performing, scoring goals for them in cups, scoring for the national team. I mean, we haven't had a player like this in nearly a decade at this point, and it's such a cool thing to see because you can tell, just watching the game last week, he's a game changer. He gets on the ball, and he makes everybody around him better. I can't say enough things about the guy. Now, I still think he needs to be surrounded by a couple of players with a little bit more ability. Him and Dante Van Zier link up super, super well. You can tell they're going to get on really, really well. When Lewis Morgan comes back, I believe that'll continue to work there. There might be a formation change coming in there if we want to get the most out of him. He's playing as a wide attacking midfielder. He doesn't really have the drive to press in that system for 90 minutes. He's a great athlete, don't get me wrong, but he uses that intelligently, at whatever age he's at now. I think he's not 36, but he's above 30. So he uses that burst of pace when he needs it and not necessarily at all times. But I will say, I think he might be the key to take us not to the highest level, but to a step higher, right? I don't think we're quite yet at the ability to compete with maybe the FCCs, the Columbus, the Atlanta group yet. But he's a great starting point to say, okay, we fixed our chance creation problem. Where else are we having issues, right? Do we need a second number 9? Do we need another, 6-8 player to link the things, or our outside backs weak? Where do we find that? Because for the longest time last year, it was, we're not creating chances, we're not scoring chances, we're not creating chances, we're not scoring chances. Okay, now that problem solved, let's figure out what's next. So, I expect out of him, I would like to see 15 goal contributions out of him if the rest of the players can get up to that level. But I don't think it's out of the question for him to, pull a 7-8 season or a 5-10 season. I don't think that's crazy at all.
Bro is dangerous. Okay, now, like, I watched your game against Nashville. It was the only game on, so clear. The whole nation could watch it. Bro is dangerous, bro. I'm worried about him. And to me, he's like Cam or a high 8. It's not like he likes to play that middle of the field and just control that field, and he's just like everywhere. And bro does not lose friggin' energy, man. He is dangerous. Thank God we have Artur, but I don't know if Artur is ready for the running he's going to have to do to keep up with Forsberg. And so that means that one of our center backs is going to have to step up and just make sure that this man does not cause the havoc that he was causing. He was causing friggin' havoc against Nashville. And, unfortunately, it was a 0-0 game. Y'all couldn't find that goal, but he's just, Jesus Christ. Like, he stood out, bro. He stood out.
Well, the thing that came out to me, I mean, he hit the bar once. Like, I think he created a chance that ended up hitting the post or whatever. But it was like the 75th, 76th minute, and he picked up the ball in the half space 35, 40 yards out. He got turned and accelerated through 3 or 4 different Nashville players before creating a chance for somebody out wide. But I mean, this is 80 minutes of pressing, and I know I just mentioned he uses that press intelligently, and that's what I was talking about. Where he might not do all of the work in the defensive press trying to win it high, but when he gets that ball and you give him an instant to turn, that's when you have trouble. Right, the trouble is going to be when he's able to pick his head up and make a decision. Am I going to take it into space? Am I going to give it off? Because that dude is so intelligent, and if you surround him with the right players to be equally intelligent, he's going to be dangerous. There was one other player I wanted to mention in here before we moved on.
Yes.
The center back Noah Isla that we got from Sweden. He started over Andres Reyes, who was our day in, day out center back last year. And I have never been as impressed with one of our new signings as I have been with Noah Isla. The dude is super confident. He's 21 years old. Most confident 21-year-old center back I've seen in a long time, at least for Red Bull, right? Fantastic in the air, confident with the ball at his feet, whether he's making a line-breaking pass or he's taking the ball into the second line on the dribble. Both of those things he's very, very confident at and successful at. He's not, Andres Reyes would do that at times, and I'll just pick him because he's the guy you replace, right? Andres Reyes would do that at times, and it's like, okay, we've got a 70% chance his ball's either going to get lost or he's going to go lunging in for a tackle and get sent off. Like, that was the thing. When Isla goes on the ball, it's like, okay, we've just created another midfielder and we've got 6 more options to play through.
Right.
That kid is going to be very, very good for us, and I'm very excited to watch him play over these next couple games because he could make a really big difference for a team that was already very good defensively last year.
Dang. All right. So that's somebody to keep an eye on this Saturday then. So segueing into it, and I'll let Fox preview the first question, but Saturday 7:30 Central Time, New York or RBNY comes to Houston for, I'm going to call it match day 2. I don't care what Miami's doing over there. They played on a Wednesday, call that match day 1, and then Saturday was match day 2 for some reason. So game number 2. We have a tie. Y'all have a tie. So we're both coming in with 1 point. We're hosting Hell in the Shell, where we're very dangerous. There's a possibility we'll be in perps because your away jersey is white. Am I correct?
Yeah, I believe we're still rocking the white away kit. It's either white or the yellow one. But God, I hope we're not wearing the yellow one. We haven't won in the yellow one all year last year. So sure hope it's not that.
Well, what did y'all just get released a few weeks ago?
We had the red and black kind of Metro inspired one.
Yeah.
I thought it looked great. I thought it looked
pretty nice. Yeah.
So you're that ugly. You're still that ugly yellow away then. Okay, so that definitely means we're going to be wearing our perps on Saturday against y'all instead of the orange, just because of the contrast right there. So that'll be fun for us for getting the perps at home and seeing it in person, which is new and something. But I'll let Fox segue into the actual game ourselves this weekend.
Oh, yeah, honestly, the way I see it, This is going to be an interesting one because we just made it through the round of 16 of Conca Champions, and the next game is going to be followed up like on Wednesday after that Saturday. So it's going to be like a few days of break for whoever plays those games. And we went through like a big rotation as well in the previous game against St. Louis for the second leg of the first round, and I'm thinking we're gonna see like some big minutes from the usual starters. Ibrahim Aliyu only played a portion of the second half, and I feel like he's gonna start this game for sure. And when it comes to like the usual people that should start, especially on the first leg, especially at home, I feel like the midfield course is still gonna be there. I don't think it's gonna be moving a lot unless Ben also makes some adjustments in the second half. And yeah, like I feel like there may not be like a lot of movement, or probably like just to resort back to the roster of the first game of the season against Sporting KC, and especially it's big for us as well because Abasi just returned from uh, um, responsibilities involving his immigration status and Escobar from injury. Although we might be missing a Mikael for some apparent injuries, and the same might go for Dorsey because he actually was carried off the field. And I wouldn't have like an update on that yet, but suppose that he's injured, then there's going to be some adjustments made up for him for sure.
He's not hurt. He's fine.
He's not hurt. That's good to know.
It was just an ankle. He's not hurt.
Nice.
But
That's good.
But yeah.
To ask you, bro, and Andrew, to come into this game and y'all press and you possessed last game at Nashville because they parked the bus. We're not going to park the bus. We're going to possess very highly and try to maintain possession of the game. So is that gonna feed back into y'all's absolute style, the way y'all like to play, to where you just press and go after the goal and then just try to win the ball back, or is this going to be something where y'all are trying to be a more possessive team going into this season? Did something change?
Yeah, so that was the one really, I'll use the term positive bright spot I saw coming out of the Nashville game was we were still pressing high. We're still looking to win that ball. It wasn't as all out as it was in the past, but it was strategic, right? They were looking to find that cue, and when it is, we're all going to go. But the one thing that changed from one side to the other was once we retained possession, even if it was on a long clearance that we end up picking up, it wasn't just okay, let's get it as high as we can again and see if we can just keep winning it higher and higher and higher. We look to possess that ball once we won it back. So there's a much better balance of keeping the ball versus the press, right? And that played a really, really big role against Nashville in what I will call our success. We didn't win the game, but we dominated the game, and it was our game to win, right? I mean, the possession stats were 55-45. I'm just looking at them here, right?
Yeah.
It's 17 shots. I don't think we took 17 shots in the first half of the year last year. Like, it was unbelievable, right? And then we're looking at it, and I think our XG was like 1.5 against their 0.2 or something like that, and it just felt way more controlled. So I think you're going to see a much better balance of possession versus possession. But when we're out of possession, we're going to keep our lines high. We're going to try and press you a little bit. But we're not just going to give it back to you and try. If you clear it, we're not just going to give it back to you and try and press you again. We're going to look to keep it as well and try and play through. I think with the addition of Emil, it gives us that quality where we're able to do that. And we're also trusting our central midfielders a little bit more. So you're going to notice a really good balance. You're going to notice that press in the defensive phase where we're going to try and get you in bad areas. So if you're going to take too long playing it out of the back and you think you're going to be comfortable, we're going to press you. But once you break that press, we're not going to, be all out of shape. We're going to come back. We're going to reset, and it's going to be a much more balanced group. So I'm excited for that because that's something we haven't seen in a couple of years. It was always just press, and then win the ball, and then kick it far, and then press. So I think it'll play a little bit. You guys having the ball will play into that a little bit. But that being said, I don't think it'll be we're not going to be a 60% to 30% or 40% game in terms of possession for you guys, right? Well, it'll probably be a little bit more balanced.
as a hectic game either, just with the way the possession is going to change. But now we're going to be more relaxed. No, sorry, no, but everybody's not going to run gas as fast. That'll be a good thing because it's going to be decent weather on Saturday as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing about this game and the approach that most of the teams, when it comes to Houston and on the road, is just trying to dispossess the Dynamo whenever they're holding onto the ball in the back, and really just try to limit their options in the midfield for like passing. Because the one thing I've seen in the games against St. Louis and Kansas City, our last two games, I've just been pretty much just try to corner Houston and really make them mess up, because it worked in a few instances, because like the one of the ways, or like one of the most common ways that I've noticed that teams I've been able to capitalize is just really taking the ball away at the wrong situation and just find the next open man. And I feel like this might be the same approach for the Red Bulls coming into this one. And really the other approach is just like try to thin out their defense, because like especially like on the counter, I feel like that's a good approach teams have been taking, but it's just a matter of really just catching the defender at the wrong moment.
Yeah, like I said, I think we're gonna probably try and find your center mids, especially with Hector Herrera not being there. Whoever you fill in there, my guess is probably going to be somebody they're going to look to get in and press there, just out of he's going to be the guy. But I haven't, I couldn't pick up in the first game at least a trend of, okay, when they play against a back four, they're going to try and press the right back every time he gets the ball, or the left back, or they're going to wait for that pass to go into the six. There hasn't really been a theme that I could pick up just yet. But you can tell that there is different cues going on that there are honing in on to say, okay, it's there, we're going to go. And that'll be an interesting kind of tactical battle, especially if you guys like to keep the ball. And that's been something that's been successful for other teams. I have a feeling that's something that's being chatted about a lot in team circles right now.
No, yeah, and the team pretty much just has like a big hole the size of Hector Herrera. And what I've noticed in the first initial games is just that they've been trying to sort his responsibilities, because he was driving the attack last year, and without him, things have been pretty difficult. And like the one player that I've been impressed with so far has been like Kowalczyk, because he's a type of player that is gonna go in and try to break defensive lines and just find the next man open. If not, then it's gonna be like Coco, like trying to drive the ball on the right and like send it to Dorsey to create the play as well. And I feel like those are going to be some of the approaches. I also think that the Rebels are going to could be focusing on either Kowalczyk or Coco to just neutralize the Dynamo. And yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, I have full faith in my assumption is it's still going to be Edelman and Amaya. Those guys get stuck in better than most of the league. They're not afraid of anything, so it's going to be a real battle in that midfield, and I think whoever comes out on top there is going to control that game. So that'll be the one to watch for me.
Well, that's the next question. What's your prediction? You segue yourself.
Yeah, I'm.
It's okay. There's no hate here, bro. Call it like you see it.
I know, but here's the thing: every time I back Red Bull, they lose. But if I tell them that they're going to lose, they win. So now I've got to balance it out here.
I don't believe in that crap. So you tell me what you think, and I'm just going to go for the win.
So I feel another draw coming out of this group. I think, I think that we can get a goal here. I think our attack is good enough to get a goal, and we dominated away from home, which is not something we used to do. So I do believe that, but I also feel like, and it maybe the players are rotated in Houston a little bit more. I know you mentioned that you might have big minutes out of big starters, but I don't know. Maybe they rotate. I don't know. I'm gonna go 1-1. I'm gonna keep it. If we can walk away with 2 points on the road before we start our home opener, thrilled. If we can get 4, even better. But I'm not that optimistic just yet. So I'm gonna go 1-1.
it would be an absolute disappointment if the Red Bulls come in here and got a win out of Houston. I'm expecting a tie. I'm expecting a 1-1 score. I'm expecting Forsberg to get in on the net, and then we'll figure out how we get a goal, whether it be a comeback goal or we score first. We do find our way to score, but it's not the easiest thing to watch in the world right now. Like Andres said, without Ache, who had 23, I think it was at the end of the season, goal, like assisting goals and just occurrences and second assist or whatever.
He broke the club's single season assist record.
Yeah, so like he's important. He's an important piece, and so taking his place right now is an 18-year-old Brooklyn Reigns, which I'm sure will be the focus of y'all's target in the midfield, because you're going to have Archer right there, but Brooklyn Reigns is going to be right there side by side with him, and he's a confident kid that plays for the U national men's team as well. So he's trusted here, but he's a little kid. He's small. He doesn't have any. He had any bulk to him. He just moves the ball. He's confident. And he's technical. So yeah, I'm sure that's who y'all going to focus on. But that's going right down the middle of the gut at the same time, and that's going to play a benefit to us at the same time. So that would not be a wise choice coming from a Houston perspective. But I understand if y'all do go for that, and if y'all are able to take advantage, then we bring in the 33-year-old Grey Goose to replace him in his place. So we gain 15 years of experience immediately if you beat the kid around or bully the kid around. So it'll be a very interesting game on Saturday. So is there a hot take out of this game? And then I'll let Andres follow up, and then we'll kind of take it to the end of the road right here on this one.
Yeah. What I will say before we get to the hot take is I was really impressed with Reigns against St. Louis in the first game. I didn't catch the second one, but I saw the first game. I thought he was solid. I mean, he had the mistake that led to the goal, but for the rest of the game, I mean, Absolutely. He was fantastic. You know, and I do think then that's why I was kind of hesitant on talking about who they're going to press, because, you know, it changes if it's Grey Goose, who has 15 extra years of experience and isn't going to take that extra touch on the ball, versus a Reigns who might take it for an extra half second. So, hot take for me. Ooh.
Forsberg's not a hot take no more.
No, I know. So my hot take is probably that Lewis Morgan, a guy who was injured all year last year, is going to get his first goal contribution since 2023. So he's going to come in and he got 15 or so minutes, I think, off the bench against Nashville and looked pretty good. So I don't know if he'll get the start, but if even if he's involved, I think he'll be able to go at some of that Houston back line and either get himself a goal, pick himself up an assist, but he'll get his first goal contribution of the year.
Well, I hope he starts to get the goal and not come off the bench and get the goal, because then I'll be worried about that second one. Fox, final thoughts on that game against them, or any final questions for Andrew here?
I think for this game, if Houston win, it's got to be by the slimmest margin. But yeah, like the Red Bulls' attack is pretty threatening, and even though the first game against Nashville didn't show it, so it's got to be a pretty good game. I feel like it's got to be that specific game that Venosa's going to have to. It's gonna have to put his brains out again, because like it's still another game we have to make a rotation, and it has to be the proper changes. Like, even though we have the Coca Champions game coming up, yeah, I feel like it's gonna be a tight one, but Houston pulled through. No bias.
All right, well, Andrew, man, well, tell us where we can find Andrew and the Designated Player, and tell us what actually the Designated Players podcast is, because typically we interview the opponent of our opponent, but the Designated Players podcast is a little bit more than that at the same time. So if you would, please tell us about you yourself, the Designator, and then we're gonna take ourselves out of here.
Yeah, man. So first, thanks so much for having me, guys. It was a blast. I had a really good time. I don't usually get to dive this deep into Red Bull because my co-host doesn't let me. So this was really fun. I love being able to dive deep into this team. It's always been, I've followed this team for 15 years, and it's been a good chat. So I appreciate that. If you guys liked what we did here, you guys can find us at the Designated Players and MLS Podcast on every social media: Twitter, Facebook and Instagram we're not really super active on, but Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, you can just search the Designated Players and MLS podcast and we'll pop up. What we do over there is general MLS stuff. So we just posted our episode today covering pro referees, U.S. Open Cup, and kind of the future of what these decisions are going to change for our league going over the next year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, what that big picture thing looks like. And we do stuff like that pretty much every week. And then we'll combo that with something what we call MLS History Retold. So fan-selected stories from MLS's historical history, for lack of a better term, that we go in, we do some research on, and we retell those stories from, we take all of the different writings and opinions and things like that, and we put them all together, and we tell that story from our point of view as a neutral, and we get some fan feedback as well. So if you want to kind of know where the league has come from and how we got to where we are, that's what we do over there. And then we also play some fun games, trivias, tic-tac-toes, just things to keep things light, test your ball knowledge, have some fun, right? So if you like any of that stuff and you want to come check us out, that's where we are, the Designated Players at an MLS podcast. We'd love to have you and hang out with you. But guys, thanks so much again for having me. I had a blast.
Andrew, I appreciate it. And guys, I highly recommend the Designated Players podcast. I've listened to a couple of episodes they've had with opponents at the same time, because I'm always curious about the opponent 100% and learning more about the league and the players and everything. And they bring the information. And, I know everybody can go to Extra Time and just get it right there, but there's a little more detail here with the Designated Players podcast. So I highly recommend y'all at least checking them out, looking at them, and just throw support over there because they're doing a great job over there. And we've been making friends off of their benefit at the same time. So love that, enjoy that, and we wish y'all luck this season. Hope y'all have a good time until the whistle blows on Saturday. After that, good luck again. And enjoy it. And Andrew, if you ever make it to Houston, let us know. I do plan to come to New Jersey at some point. Obviously, we'll have to play you again. That'll be for a couple of years because I love your location and where you're at. You're there, Jersey, boom, and then the airport's across the street. New York's across the street, so it's fun. So that's someplace I do want to kind of check out, and hopefully we can do that. I'm having fun with the media. Hopefully, we can just do one of those media outlet days in New York or in Houston if you make it down here, man. So thankful you, Andres, and any final words, and take us out, brother.
No, man. Looking forward to it. Like it just reminds me of the Easter Conference days. Like you're hosting the Red Bulls again. No, man, it's gotta be an insane game, though.
Yeah. Well, again, Andrew, thank you very much, bro. We look forward to it. Obviously, everybody, y'all follow Andrew. Follow Designated. Andres, thank you again for joining us on Instant Ramen. We will see you again, hopefully versus the Columbus guys. But first things first, we got to beat the Red Bulls and send them back to New Jersey. H is up. Stay holding.